Welcome. It's wonderful to see so many people here, and it's an absolute delight to have you all with us on this, our 26th year, and the 75th anniversary of Australia launching its digital age. I'm Jordan Green, the Deputy Chair of the Pearcey Foundation and your host for this evening. The Pearcey Foundation acknowledges the Turrbal and Yugara nations and all the traditional custodians who belong to the lands where the Pearcey Foundation and you, our guests, meet, live and work. We acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are with us today, their elders past and present, all of whom stories, traditions and living cultures in this country are a valuable resource, as are those of all who come to make Australia their home, because together we are Australia. Now, a little housekeeping for your safety. If the alarms go off or we're notified to evacuate for some reason, please leave any large bags at the table, rise and in an orderly fashion, leave through the exits as directed by the staff. If you're looking for the bathrooms, they're over at the back of the hall on that side. And if you do need a taxi later in the evening, there's a priority taxi phone in the lobby. So tonight we're going to combine the Queensland Pearcey Entrepreneur Award and the Pearcey National Awards. That's a lot of outstanding Australians to recognise for their personal achievements in the ICT sector, those in the midst of their careers and others for significant lifetime achievements and service. The story of Australian leadership in computing technologies is much older than that first digital computer delivered by our namesake, Dr. Trevor Pearcey, in 1949. And making Australia then the third country ever to invent a digital computer. You'll hear more about CSIROC from our guest speaker, Emeritus Professor Roy Green AM, later this evening. I want to tell you a different story. In 1913, George Julius, later Sir George, invented a mechanical voting machine. When the government decided they weren't really very interested in that, he repurposed it to be the world's first totalisator. Yes, that's right, an Australian invented a better way to bet. So that was a mechanical device, but later on became electromechanical, but it was absolutely the first operating computer in the world. Some of you may know Babbage. He designed a computer, but he never actually managed to build a working version of it. That happened in 2002. So anyway, the third of those machines that Julius built was installed right here in Brisbane at the Eagle Farm Racecourse. So very closely connected as we stand here today to the beginning of computing for the whole world. Later on, those machines were installed at racecourses in Australia, the UK, New Zealand, and the US, making his efforts not only the first operating computer, but also the first global computer company. So very much in the spirit of what we recognise and celebrate through the Pearcey Foundation. From there to CSIROC, which included the invention of digital music, and on to the current day in quantum computing, Australia has been and is a pioneer in computing. That said, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome some dignitaries with us tonight. The Honourable Steve Minikin, Minister for Customer Services and Open Data and Minister for Small and Family Business. Welcome. The Honourable Fran Bailey, former Federal Cabinet Minister and Member for McEwen in Victoria. The Honourable Kate Lundy, former Federal Minister and Senator for the ACT and Pearcey Hall of Fame. Helen McHugh, ACS President. Nick Tate, ACS Immediate Past President and the Chair of the Council of ICT Associations. Dr. Rod Dilnut, Immediate Past Chair of ACS Victoria. Bo Tidd, Immediate Past Chair of ACS Queensland. And Matthew Eames, the Chair of ACS Queensland. I'd also like to take this opportunity to recognise the outstanding Australians who have already been recognised in the past by Pearcey National Awards who are with us tonight. David Merson, who received the medal in 2015. John De Margaretti, who received the medal in 2022. David Tudorhope, who received the medal last year in 2023. Professor Ashley Goldsworthy, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. John Puttick, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. You can guess which table he's sitting at. Again, to mention Kate Lundy, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017, and alongside her, Helen McHugh, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. And we have Brett Hooker, the National Entrepreneur recipient in 2007. Of course, we couldn't be here tonight without the stalwart support of our Queensland sponsors. So our heartfelt thanks go to Flight 1, represented tonight by Mr. Bob Tisdall, Data 3, represented tonight by Mr. Ray Milano, Soda, and Technology One. We welcome the University of Queensland Cyber Research Centre and each and every one of you who are joining us tonight to celebrate some truly remarkable Australians. A very special welcome to Mr. Owen Pearcey, the son of Dr. Trevor Pearcey. And a very warm welcome to the Fitzsimmons family, who are joining us to celebrate 25 years of Wayne's role as our chairman. Now it's my privilege to introduce Mr. Wayne Fitzsimmons, OAM, who has been a stalwart advocate for the role of ICT in enabling and enriching the future of our country. He graduated from the University of Queensland in 1964 with a degree in communications engineering, and his first job was in Melbourne and Adelaide with Fairchild Semiconductor. And for those who are not aware, that is the forerunner of all semiconductor companies. Over the next 25 years, Wayne worked in executive leadership roles for the Data General Corporation in Australia, the UK, and the USA before returning home. Always entrepreneurial in his work, Wayne continued as a business leader and investor, putting his efforts into growing novel technology companies born of Australian ingenuity, an effort that he continues to this very day. Please join me in welcoming Wayne.
Thanks, Jordan. I hope that's all true. I'm absolutely delighted for you all to be here and share in our 26th year of presentations of the Pearcey National Award. And I was particularly delighted to meet Owen Pearcey. And I mentioned to him a couple of times, it just looks like his dad. To my fellow Pearcey Foundation colleagues, many of whom have flown in today from around Australia, many thanks for joining us all for what will be a great evening. My thanks also to my fellow board members and Pearcey Foundation Deputy Chair Jordan Green, and as Jordan will go through some of the details for our awards tonight, and to Simon Foster, my fellow board member, who came up from Sydney today as well. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, whose names are up on the slides there, without whom we couldn't hold these events. And they've continued to support us over many years here in Queensland. We've also had delighted that the minister, newly appointed minister in the Queensland government, has made time to come tonight, and we really appreciate Mr. Minister. Two particular guests I would like to mention also are Jackie and Martin Way. I've worked with them since we established the Queensland Entrepreneur Award back in 2003. Our 2004 Queensland Entrepreneur Awardee was, in fact, Adrian Marquee. His exceptionally successful global software enterprise Technology One was just getting started and continues to be one of our long-term sponsors, and an incredibly successful company who saw the stock price went up 15%, I think, yesterday. Had a pretty good outcome result. Of course, the foundation commenced back in 1998 following the death of Dr. Trevor Pearcey. At that time, Mr. Ian Dennis was chair of the ACS in Victoria. He took the initiative to create the Pearcey Medal in memory of Trevor's pioneering efforts. More on Dr. Pearcey and the awards from Jordan shortly. I'd recommend that you all look at the news post on our website for an excellent new biography on Trevor by Monash University historian and Pearcey colleague Barbara Ainsworth. This biography was first published on the Australian Dictionary of Biographies website, and we have permission to publish it on our website. And it's a great read. In addition to the awards, the Foundation undertakes other activities, as can also be seen on our website, pearcey.org.au. In broad terms, these activities, other than the awards, fall into two categories: heritage and thought leadership. These are two elements of our mission, two key elements, to promote ICT to Australia and to Australians. To remind everyone, ICT stands for the Information and Communications Technology. And ladies and gentlemen, we Australians are very, very good at this stuff, as you will hear this evening. Now, in terms of heritage, a senior member of our Pearcey team, Dr. Peter Thorne AM, who happens to be with us tonight, coordinates with many enthusiastic supporters around Australia in documenting how Australia has developed its national ICT capability since Trevor Pearcey and his colleagues launched CIRAC back in 1949. CIRAC is Australia's first and the world's fourth electronic digital computer. You will hear more of this and its impact on Australia from our special guest this evening, Professor Roy Green, AM. Suffice to say, our foundation is documenting and publishing the history of our industry since its inception in 1949. We are collaborating with many institutions, academic and not-for-profit, to ensure our heritage record is recorded. The support from historians across the continent is fantastic. We are not alone in this endeavour. Earlier this year, Peter, Jordan and I were at the opening of the Australian National Communications Museum in Hawthorn in Melbourne. And of course, CIRAC, in its original form, is on permanent display at Science Wood. It's the museum in Melbourne. Many books have been written about our industry, and one of them will be acknowledged later on this evening. Thought leadership. Over many years, our foundation has collaborated with many organisations to discuss and debate the issues of the day where ICT is involved. ICT is a horizontal enabler and is an integral part of most industries. In fact, we are all impacted daily by elements of the industry, some good, some not so good. Social media, through email, through government and so on are easy examples that come to mind. The Pearcey Foundation, since 2023, is holding a series of national public seminars entitled Australia 4.0. These sessions, in-person and Zoom video interactive events, are focused on the role of ICT in the transformation of our national electricity grid, the poles and wires that we're all familiar with, as we move towards a net zero emissions economy. Our examination is taken through a digital and data lens with particular emphasis on the consumer and the agency we, as consumers, have in this process. More of these activities are detailed on our website, pearcey.org.au. With that, I'll hand back to our MC for the evening, Jordan Green, but I must first mention that both Jordan Green, Pearcey National Deputy Chair, and Professor Roy Green, our keynote speaker this evening, were both recognised in the 2024 New Year Order of Australia Awards. Both were awarded the Australia Medal, AM. This is a high honour, and we are proud to have them both here to share in the celebrations this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And I will, for clarification, just point out that Roy and I share a fantastic name, but we are not actually related. More's the pity, perhaps, but still. As I mentioned earlier, the story of Australian leadership in computing technologies starts much earlier than Trevor and CIRAC in 1949. CIRAC certainly ushered in the digital age in which we live. It was the first computer to play digital music, the first to be a long-term bureau service to research, government and industry. When I say first, by the way, I mean first in the world, ever, anywhere. The first to be a long-term bureau service, the first to perform sustained meteorological forecasting, financial analysis, and a variety of other remarkable achievements. Australians pioneering ICT continues today with our work in quantum computing. You will be able to explore all of that rich heritage of global leadership in computing when the Foundation publishes the first authoritative book on the topic due out next year. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pearcey Foundation is an all-volunteer charity, a community of people who come together to recognise and celebrate our heritage, our present, and to inspire our future, as Wayne has outlined. For 26 years, we've been achieving those aims with the awards programs that bring us all here tonight, with the Pearcey Oration, widely acknowledged as the most significant technology oration in the nation, with our heritage programs, such as the book I mentioned, and through our special initiatives, such as the Australia 4.0 program Wayne described. Each of these combines to enable us to inspire our youth to see their futures in creating and using technologies, and to empower our communities to understand and exploit technologies for the betterment of our society. Our core ethic at the Foundation is collaboration. No better example than when our award recipients partner with the Foundation to make generous donations of equipment, software, and their own time. These gifts go typically to museums, schools, and communities to help to further our purpose of informing and inspiring the next generation. Our collaboration sees us partnering with research, industry, and government to deliver Australia 4.0, to initiate and promulgate other recognition programs like Ada Lovelace Day, and to encourage and support national achievements like the National Communications Museum that Wayne mentioned, and a national ICT oral history program. All of the things that have happened since Trevor turned on CIRAC in 1949 are still in living memory. And we think it's really important to try and capture that rather than bemoan the fact that we didn't. All these and more are exemplars of our commitment to being a proactive enabler of a better future for Australia through remembering, celebrating, enabling and promoting our ICT heroes and heroines. 26 years ago, the Foundation launched on that mission, and these awards are for Australians who engage in and excel at the invention, development and use of information, communication and computing technologies for the betterment of our society. Pearcey Awards remind us that innovation and advances in technology and in industry are fueled by talented and creative individuals. Creativity in technology, in science, in industry, or the arts is the ability to envision alternative futures and new possibilities for our society. Our awards celebrate those who successfully turn their creativity into concrete benefits for our nation. We have recognised 240 outstanding Australians with Pearcey Awards, 173 with the Entrepreneur Award, 67 have been inducted into the Pearcey Hall of Fame, and 27 of those have received the Pearcey Medal. And if you're doing the arithmetic after 26 years and we have 27 medalists, we'll explain that a little later. Peer selection is the hallmark of the Pearcey Awards. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to nominate somebody else for one of our awards. Just go to the website for quick and easy to use online nomination forms. Nominees are vetted by the relevant committee of volunteers in the organisation, but it is the voting by past recipients of the award that drives the final selection. Every Pearcey Award is a peer-selected recognition. Time and again, award recipients tell me it is this peer recognition that matters the most to them, most deeply, and is most valued as an aspect of the awards that we're privileged to offer. Each year, the Foundation awards the Pearcey Medal for a lifetime of achievement. The medalist and up to 2 others are inducted into the Pearcey Hall of Fame for their notably significant lifetime contributions to Australian ICT. Tonight, is the night when it all happens. We are gathered here with Pearcey Entrepreneur Award recipients from across the country. Selected by past award recipients, this is the community recognising the significant achievements of its peers, individuals in the midst of their career who are leading the Australian ICT sector from the very front of the global stage. None of that could happen without the remarkable efforts of the Pearcey committees in each state and territory, who give generously of their time to ensure this award continues year after year with honour and integrity. You will see that in action shortly when we present the Queensland Pearcey Entrepreneur Award. Subsequently, we will present the National Entrepreneur Award, then move on to the Hall of Fame, and then our highest accolade at the end of the evening, the Pearcey Medal. Thank you all for joining us for this special event and for your support of the Pearcey Foundation. Now, I believe we're going to have our entree, and as you enjoy your entree, please watch a short video on the screens at either end of this room, which will offer a brief glimpse into some of the other remarkable achievements by Australians at the very forefront of the global technology stage. Thank you.
I think Australia has a terrific record for being inventive.
There's clearly a brilliant, innovative streak in Australians.
We've had an honourable role to play.
It may be due to the circumstances, our isolation, the need to be creative.
We had some early innovations. In 1854, we had our first telegraph line between Melbourne and Williamstown, the port.
A lot of the first forays into electronics in Australia were about telecommunication.
Outside of America and England, was the first country in the world to use Morse code.
Morse code revolutionised communication, and it wasn't long before those telegraph lines spread like spiders' webs all around Australia.
That was the Victorian internet.
The Darwin to Java undersea cable was put in place in 1871, and it was to connect to the overland telegraph line. We then had cable contact back to Europe.
The businesses that used the Morse code the most was in fact the wool industry.
And we had an extraordinary inventor called Henry Sutton.
Henry Sutton had designed the first of the rechargeable batteries.
He was very much a self-taught genius of his age.
The compound telephone, which we know today, which has one piece, came as a result of earpiece at one end, microphone at the other, all off the same magnet. That was a brilliant invention.
Alexander Graham Bell comes to visit him in Ballarat.
Bell had that telephone in two pieces, and Henry Sutton made it in one.
When you've got companies doing high-tech things.
Radio was explosive in its growth through the 20s.
It was vital that Australia have communications, particularly communications with the ships at sea.
The whole electronics industry in that period, from 1920s onwards, was dominated by the firm AWA and by its chief scientist, Sir Ernest Fisk.
So he thought he could communicate with the afterlife, with the dead, with radio. They're starting production of vacuum tubes. They're realising radio's huge.
This is called a Traeger pedal. It became familiar to people on stations to use the pedal radio to communicate with the doctor, to communicate with each other.
Radio in Australia is probably seen as a little bit more vital because it's a big continent.
In Australia during that wartime period, one of the most important developments that took place was at CSIR Radio Physics, where they developed the distance measuring equipment.
In World War II, Australia had developed portable radar systems for our soldiers to take into the field in jungle warfare, and that was fairly extraordinary in its day.
During 1946, I began to develop ideas for an electronic system for computation. Towards the end of 1947, I had more or less completed a theoretical logical design for what was to become CIRAC.
CIRAC came about because it was part of the general development across the world because there was a need for high-speed computation. CIRAC was the brainchild of Trevor Pearcey and Maston Beard.
The machine was well conceived and well engineered by the team at Radio Physics.
CIRAC has the greatest Australian content of any computer ever made.
There were only 3 other computers in the world.
It was a huge advance over the calculating machines, which was all they had.
CIRAC was the first computer to generate music.
Colonel Bogey's March was the first thing, which was a very popular tune of its day. You know, da, 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 da.
And that was the first use of a computer to generate music in the world. CSIROC, in later years when it was in Melbourne, was the first computer to generate a 24-hour weather forecast.
It was an extraordinary machine. It did extraordinary work. It found the centre of our galaxy.
They developed games that people could play using the cathode ray screens and the flashing lights.
It was a remarkable machine created and maintained by remarkable people.
One of the more significant Australian inventions in electronics was the black box float recorder.
And of course the atomic absorption spectrometer, which was a CSIRO development.
Australia's always been in the forefront of television research.
Australia kept pace. Australia kept pace with the rest of the world in this technology.
The reason why biomedical is because you've got this huge centre of biomedical research here, which needs hardware and needs instruments and things like that.
They were experimenting.
There was the bionic ear.
I have spent the greater part of my working life focused on developing what turned out to be a bionic ear or cochlear implant for profoundly deaf people.
And the pacemaker.
In fact, in 1971, Telectronics was the first company in the world to put a hermetically sealed pacemaker on the market.
So there's certainly people doing some very clever stuff in that area.
In the very late 60s, early 70s, Dick Smith came along and started up Dick Smith Electronics.
I'm going to sell electronics and I'm going to do it in a revolutionary way.
And then straight after that, we got the very first digital chips, CD 4011, 4001, and this was the beginning of the digital era.
Late 70s, mid 80s was sort of like the golden age of hobby electronics, I think.
It was magazines, it was buying kits, there was a computer club.
First projects that I built myself with some friends was the National Semiconductor kit called the SCAP.
These were times when it was really quite a mensa test to get the smallest computer to do the smallest thing.
There was an enthusiasm, almost a religious zealot of interest in these parts.
I think it was. I think that it was very exciting for people to be able to build something which used a chip. It was a concept which was new.
The first commercial computers were starting to come in, the Dick Smith Sorcerer, for example, then the Australian Micro Bee.
Unix became the thing.
Australia also built the Fairlight, which is the world's first digital sampler, and Fairlight expanded. It became a very innovative audio editing tool for post-production. Post-production being the synchronisation of sound to image. Basically, the Fairlight system is still incorporated inside the Blackmagic system these days. And Rode Microphones now, one of the world's most successful microphone manufacturers, is in Sydney.
I'm particularly proud of what I did there. The NT3, which is a little pencil microphone.
The CSIRO is government controlled and they've had some big intellectual property wins recently with the Wi-Fi patent which they won, which is absolutely incredible.
There's been a long process of innovation and discovery.